Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon here at Oxford to talk about our new Mathematics Stage 6 standard resources. I'd like to begin with an acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the many lands on which we meet today. We pay our respects to elders past and present, and we also extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today. My name is Callie. I'm in the New South Wales sales team, and I'll just give you an overview of what we are going to be covering today. I'll shortly be introducing our author and series consultant, and we'll be having a look to start with at the summary of key changes in the Stage 6 standard syllabus, some of the challenges facing schools, and in implementing the new syllabus, we'll be introducing Oxford's solutions and offerings, and then we'll talk about some purchasing and availability, and there will also be time for some questions at the end. So I'll introduce now Daniel Beadle, who's on the call with us today, who is the series consultant and author for our new edition, the 4th edition of Oxford Standard Maths. And I would also acknowledge the co-authors in the series, and that is Daniel Mansfield and Michael Austin. So I will now hand over to Daniel.
Thank you, Callie. Hi, everyone. Good to be here today. Thank you for joining us. We're going to look at a few parts of the new syllabus and what they mean for us and teachers. We're looking at why the syllabus is changing. As you know, a comprehensive review of the curriculum took place. We now have a continuous K-12 curriculum. The aim of this was to, as you could see, build strong foundations, set clear standards of achievement, and integrate the learning and its application across the curriculum. They've tried to declutter the curriculum and get a little bit more time and more support for teachers. We'll see how they've gone with that. The Stage 6 syllabus is designed to build on the Stage 4, Stage 5 content. We've got that overarching working mathematically theme, and the curriculum is supposed to help us teach students how to question, communicate, reason, and reflect. We've moved a little bit away from the more skills-based curriculum to hopefully a nice balance between content and concept through our knowledge-rich curriculum. There have been some significant changes to Mathematics Standard. They've cleaned up the content quite a bit. We've got our focus areas and our areas of study. So algebra has been broken down into a few focus areas across year 11 and 12. Working mathematically is embedded throughout the syllabus, and all the links to Australian content have been removed. As you should be aware now that Mathematics Standard 1 can count towards an ATAR as long as the students sit that HSE examination. Got a summary of the changes in front of you. I'm going to highlight a few things. Simple quadratic equations now in year 11. Buy now, pay later in finance, spreadsheets, which you'll see has been across all Standard 1, Standard 2, and Year 11. Volume of cones has been snuck in. You were probably already teaching that with pyramids. Time conversions have been made explicit. Errors in measurement is out, as is interpreting timetables, capture, recapture. They got rid of Pareto charts, thankfully. And we've got a little bit of change as well with networks, paths, and trees being moved out of the year 12 content and into year 11. If you're teaching a standard pathway in year 10, you'll touch on networks there as a path topic, revisit it in year 11, and then do critical paths in year 12. Interest in depreciation, as you can see, got moved into year 12, as did units of energy and relative frequency and probability. So some nice changes that should smooth things out for the teaching sequence. from Year 9, Year 10, Year 11, and Year 12. These spreadsheets, if you had a chance to look at the mathematics sample HSEs that they gave out, the spreadsheets are very clearly in the HSE. We'll touch on that a little bit more later. They've had a little bit of emphasis more on choosing appropriate ways to display your data. Box plots, quartiles, and the 5-number summary has been emphasized, and they've gotten rid of that percentiles and deciles stuff. In terms of standard 1, not too much has been changed. Comparing loan types and considering short, medium, and long-term financial goals. We can get the students to give us some of those. We're not financial planners. We've got simple interest and straight line depreciation has been moved into standard 1, out of year 11. Similar figures is gone. Heart rate and blood pressure is gone. And it's looking quite a lot better. That's your key summary of standard 1. The main thing that sticks out to me, hopefully to you, is the students being able to explain the difference between what a rate and what a ratio is. And in terms of statistics, we're really highlighting the treatment of correlation and causation. On to the next bit, standard 2. So interesting change that they've made is they've told us that we will have to teach the students how to solve simultaneous linear equations without specifying which method to use. So you can feel free to use either. It's implied there that they won't ask for a specific way in the HSE. Comparing straight line depreciation and declining balance method, you've got the buy now, pay later and different kinds of loans. Critical path analysis, they've introduced these Gantt charts, which is something that hopefully your faculty leaders will be able to give you guys a little bit of professional learning, a little bit of support with. Interpreting statistics by media, government, and companies, which is a little bit interesting. Interpreting and analyzing graphs of shares, which is good. It's implied that we're going to be looking at time series charts, looking at if the share was purchased here and sold at this date, profit loss, those kind of things. Really good news down the bottom there with Pearson's correlation coefficient and the least squares is now just done on the calculator. So we don't have to worry about all those little standard deviation calculations. Recurrence relations for annuities are out. Heart rate and blood pressure and those counter requirements for energy efficient housing has been removed, as is the using technology to determine probabilities. Big summary there, again with the spreadsheets. Representations of quadratic and exponential relationships, including as equations, tables of values, sets of ordered pairs, and graphs is now required, and students should be able to move between those different representations. They're also required to graph reciprocal relationships with and without graphing applications. So Desmos is great, but they're going to have to do it by hand as well. And then that last bit down the bottom there, the required knowledge and skills in financial mathematics relating to shares and annuities, they're building on that. They don't have to use formulas to calculate the value of annuities, but they do need to compare investment strategies beyond just simple and compound interest. Quite interesting, few challenges there, and in looking at our resources and how we teach things. Again, students having to explain, identify, communicate the difference between a rate and a ratio. The investigation of sine and cosine ratios for obtuse angles has been removed. That's kind of been a sticking point for a long time now. So it's glad to see that that's gone. Networks is now nice and clear, and the simulation stuff is completely gone, which is fantastic. As you're aware, this is our opportunity, our time to plan and prepare. Start teaching next year in 2027. We'll have our first HSE students. This next section, we're looking at challenges facing schools, and we've identified a few challenges. We've got this new syllabus. We've got some cohorts coming through with high literacy demands. They can be a little bit weaker, and we've got these spreadsheets in the syllabus. So Teaching the new syllabus, while there are some significant changes, not too much has changed, but it's important that we don't just, delete the bits that have changed and try and find a few more resources to tack on. That's not the purpose of the curriculum reform. It's really an opportunity to look at what we're doing and how we're doing, and really make sure that we're teaching the content and the concepts. They kind of go hand in hand, and we really need to contextualize our learning, our formulas, our concepts through the content. Next slide. So, building on our teaching and working with our students, we want to use this opportunity with the new curriculum to make a big shift towards a more explicit teaching. You might have seen in the news, a lot of schools are getting some great results with explicit teaching, building on that procedural fluency and this working mathematically outcome from K to 10. It's not just students being able to do some harder problems in the content. It's not just students being able to communicate their reasoning and understanding. And it's not just students being able to use different areas of mathematics to answer more complex questions. It's all of those combined. And we need to provide opportunities when we're teaching for students to access those questions, access those opportunities. And it's going to take time to build that capacity. Hopefully, you've looked at the stage 4 and 5 syllabus implementation, and you've been seeing how that's going. And I know a lot of schools are putting students in year 9, sometimes year 10, starting their pathways towards stage 6 courses. Your courses and your content, when you're teaching your syllabus, the syllabus is designed to allow us to consolidate learning and build on it as we go through from stage 4, stage 5, and stage 6. So in stage 6 now, like we said before about the networks, you can build on that in stage 5 as you can with the algebra, the rates and ratios, consolidate that, revisit it, build on it, and go deeper rather than further along, especially with students that might be accelerated. Much better to go a deeper understanding than just throwing harder and harder and further content at them. And the last bit, no matter what school you're in, there should be a lot of time available for you to sit down with your faculties to plan for this new syllabus, how you're going to teach it, how you're going to implement it, what your classes are going to look like moving into stage 6, what your assessments are going to look like. You may have to scream and beg for this support, but it is there if you ask for it. This second challenge, at my school and some other schools that I've spoken with, these high literacy demands in a weaker cohort, we have a lot more students sitting standard maths than we did years ago. And the trend looks like it's going to continue, especially the way that they're doing the advanced mathematics HSCs. They seem to be getting harder and harder and harder, more and more complex, and there doesn't seem to be a clear justification for it. Mathematics standard is seen as one of the easier courses, and given the numbers of mathematics students that you're probably getting in your schools, timetabling against mathematics is very hard. So a lot of the time students will end up in standard mathematics even if they maybe didn't want to do standard mathematics. You might have classes with students that have struggled with mathematics their whole schooling. Their numeracy may be weak, their literacy may be weak. And given the very, very literacy heavy, comprehension heavy nature of the course, Networks has a lot of new vocabulary that will be introduced. Smoothing that out over year 10, 11, and 12 should help, but subtle wording changes and reading the questions carefully is going to undo a lot of students. You can see in this question here, it's a fairly straightforward question, but that subtle change to the question, it's going to trip up a lot of students. So there's a lot of modeling that you're going to have to do to help these kids get over the line. A lot of past questions, a lot of highlighting. One of the other strategies that we've tried to build capacity in stage 4 and 5 is, we tell students to highlight and bold the key words and terms in their tasks. Well, why don't we do that for them? Makes them a little bit easier for them to see what they are and should be highlighting. That support will be taken away in stage 6, but it also gives the students a little bit more time to focus on the assessment, what the assessment is for. Are we assessing the students' literacy, or are we assessing their ability to meet the mathematical outcomes that we've taught them? Here's another fun question. Massive amount of text there. Fairly straightforward question if you know your content and you know your skills. But for students that are kind of on the fence, it's a little bit tricky. So what do? We keep teaching. The syllabus is designed for us to be able to review and consolidate learning. There's been a lot of talk about Rosenshine and cognitive load theory, throwing back to questions and content that you taught yesterday, last week, last month. This I do, we do, you do can be really good. Visual aids, chunking, explicit vocabulary modeling as well. 5 takeaway 2 is different to 5 takeaway -2. Some students, we get a lot of -2. And if you can change that behavior and break that mold, hopefully you can build a little bit more literacy in your students. Hopefully this makes sense. We're not going to get a lot more time to teach, unfortunately, but we've just got to keep moving on, and hopefully we have the best resources we can to enable our teachers to do the best jobs they can. Now, this last challenge, what we've all been waiting for, spreadsheets in the syllabus. There was some of it in the old syllabus. They weren't really examined. They probably weren't really taught, but given that it's been made explicit in the HSE sample papers that they've given out, we really need to think about how we're going to teach it and when we're going to teach it. I don't know about your students, but a lot of our students, they don't have a lot of spreadsheet skills. There used to be an IT course in stage 4 or stage 5 where students picked up some of these skills. It hasn't been around for a while as far as I can tell. But we have been thinking about how we're going to do this because we are not spreadsheet teachers. We're teaching mathematics in the context of spreadsheets. So you're going to have to talk to your faculties, talk to your CLT about how you can upskill your teachers and upskill your department, what professional learning and development is available. But we're looking at embedding spreadsheets across stage 4 and 5 in wherever it makes sense. Just a little lesson here or there to get the kids a little bit more familiar with it. We're also looking at some cross KLA. What other KLAs use spreadsheets, and can we get them to start teaching it and using it a little bit more if they already do, or to start if they don't. And then lastly, at the end of year 10, after they've done their ROSA, there's normally a bit of a chunk of time with year 10. We are looking at utilizing that time to do a little bit of a crash course in spreadsheets at the end of year 10 to prepare them for stage 6. So those are the opportunities. Those are the approaches. I'd be keen to hear if anyone has any other ideas about how they're going to embed spreadsheets. There are some challenges, but I'll hand it over to Carly to show you how Oxford is going to address some of these challenges and support us as teachers.
Thanks, Daniel. And in case any of you missed it on the slide earlier, Daniel is currently the head of maths at St Clair's College in Waverley in Sydney. Okay, so when we were looking at the redesign for the new syllabus, for our resources, we had some goals in mind. Obviously, what we want to do is provide you with a resource that's going to make it easier for you to implement the new syllabus. So a purpose-written resources. We also identified that we need to support teachers to deliver differentiation, because what we do know about the standard course is that there will be a wide range of ability across the student cohort. And we also want to provide some tools in addition to the ones that we've had in the past, such as worksheets and downloadable resources. We also are looking to provide some innovative new features, such as interactive lesson plans, which can become live lessons, and as well as an AI student tutor, which we're calling Finch. Our partners for the new series, in terms of technology, we've got Learnosity, and Learnosity is behind the online quizzes and assessment, harvest the results and deliver them to you. And we also work with Desmos, so we've embedded the Desmos geometry and calculator tools. So just to reiterate, we're publishing Year 11 this year, ready for Back to School 2026, and then we will publish both Standard 1 and Standard 2 for the start of Year 12, 2026. Daniel's already touched on the structure of the new syllabus, and that will be reflected in our resource. So we go from the areas of study to the focus areas, and then we've built our modules in alignment. So when you're reviewing our new resource, you will see that it aligns very closely with the new syllabus. So some of you on the call today may be familiar with the standard resource that we have currently, but we're going to just run through the features of the way that we've put the design together. So we begin with a module opener, and that's where you find a list of all of the lessons that will be covered in this module. Module is the new term for chapter. We then provide a prerequisite skills test so that you can judge or gauge the skill levels that your students have in order to take on the learning that they're about to do. And then we provide some support worksheets where there may be some gaps identified. And then finally, the syllabus links are also stated in the textbook for you for your convenience. The lessons are really clearly laid out. It's very linear. We start with a lesson title, and then we have the learning intentions stated. And we have introduced new theory boxes, which look green or blue, depending whether you're looking at a print or an online version. So they're new, and they provide the students with some further support. And then we start with our worked examples. So all of our worked examples do come with video online to support students if they're working independently or at home. The worked examples are followed by the understanding, fluency and communicating exercises, and many lessons or many exercises also have a helpful hints section as well before they start. So the way it goes is they have a worked example, they have some of those questions, they have another worked example before we move into the problem solving and reasoning questions. And then finally, the challenge questions. So they're great for students that you want to extend a little bit. And then finally, you'll see that we've got related resources. So it's very clear to see that you have got some supplementary, whether it's a quick quiz. So we have an online quiz for each of the lessons within the module, as well as some additional worksheets and downloadable investigations. Now, we've touched on spreadsheets, so obviously that's really key in the new syllabus. So we are providing spreadsheet support, and in the sample module that we have access to currently, formulas and equations, 6 of the 12 lessons within that module are supported with spreadsheet help. We will also be providing some actual spreadsheets online for you to work with, and some additional teaching support which is available to teachers in schools using our resources. The module finishes with a module review, and the first thing there is actually some focus on literacy. So looking at the key terms and revising those, and then the students have an opportunity to check their learning and use those key terms in context before they begin their multiple choice questions. So lots of multiple choice questions to practice that skill. And then we have the 4 review sets of questions for each module. So you might use one of those review sets at the completion of the module, and then you've got other review sets to come back to when you've got a little bit more of the content covered. You can come back and that idea that you're revising, the students are constantly revising with another review set of questions. And then that finishes with a practice exam question as well for every module. Finally, we've added a checklist. So this is where the students can actually self-evaluate how they think they've gone with their learning. It's a checklist of the success criteria, which can be done online. And it's also printed in the book as well. And then finally, any other resources. So there's an additional quiz that goes with the review and any other resources there that are available online. So at this point, I'm going to jump into the online version, and we'll have a look at how that looks in our new digital platform. So we're very excited to be launching a brand new version of Oxford Digital for 2025. The new platform supports learning in new ways of being able to offer more exciting tools and functionality to support student learning and make teachers' lives easier. We've designed the new platform with 2 goals in mind: improving student engagement and performance, and at the same time supporting teachers and hopefully saving you some time. So my library page is where I would find any resources that I have access to at school. This is where I can also manage my classes, and I can download an offline version. So we have a downloadable e-reader now, and that's replaced the PDF, and it does sit on a device. It means that you'll always have access to the course content whether you are online or not. So I'm going to open the Year 11 sample, which is the formulas and equations. And I can see it looks a little different. So we've really moved away from that sort of flat flat image kind of book look and feel, and we've moved to a fully accessible, reflowable format with integrated resources and activities. I can see down the left-hand side that I've got the course. So this is where I'd find all of the course structure. I can look at the resources and filter those by type or by lesson. I can find any work that I've assigned to the students. I can look at the reports. I can add some notes. Font size can be changed, so much more accessible for students with different needs. And finally, those Desmos tools. So I can either click on read, or I can jump into the course. And we've got this one module at the moment as a sample. So if I open the module, I can move through by clicking next at the bottom of the screen. So we've got the option of chunking everything down into a slide view. I've also got the panel here on the right to move through. And as is printed in the book, I can see my lessons listed there. I can see that I've got a diagnostic test here for the students to complete, and then the support sheets that go with those. The students wouldn't see the answers, but because I'm a teacher, I can see the answers, and if I did want to share those with the students, I can. So I can copy a link to my LMS if I'm using that. I can download them, or I can assign them through this platform. And then there are those syllabus links there as well. So I've got all of that at hand, and then I can move through to lesson 1.1. So I can move through here, and as I showed you on the slides, you've got the content from the textbook here really chunked down. So there are those new theory boxes. I can click on a term if I need to, and I'll get a little pop-out definition. And then working through the worked examples. If I want to keep scrolling, I can get rid of this pane. I can close that down. Or I can use the single page view, and that will allow me to scroll all the way through the lesson in a very linear way. I can see there that I've got some highlighted text, and in fact you can also you can add notes here as well. So if I wanted to add a note to this exercise, I can do that. I can type in a note here, and I can share notes with students as well. If I want to change the font size, I click on font, and then I choose a larger font size and close, and it will immediately change the font size for me. And then I would keep working through until I get all the way through the content and through to the all of the lessons, and then the review at the end. But you may have noticed that I've got a lesson plan up here as well. Because I'm a teacher, I can see the lesson plan. So let's have a look at that. I can see that I've got some resources here available to me. I've got answers. So with this new edition, we are providing fully worked solutions. As well as the solutions. I've got worksheets, and I've got an interactive quiz. I can customize my my lesson if I want to, and that will allow me to. I'll just click into this and have a look at this first. So getting started, the learning intentions, I can see the resources I've got there, the quick quiz, the worksheet, and so on, my syllabus links, and I've also got some advice for teaching the lesson. So again, focusing on the key terms, looking at some potential difficulties, and even I've got some support, some students that will need support, but I'd also like to be able to extend some students as well. So some advice there, and even some homework. Now, what we will be doing as well is providing the ability to change this into a live lesson. So as we go live with the Year 11 and move into Year 12, we will be adding a functionality where we add more activities into this, such as practice examples, and you will be able to choose if you want to take advantage of the live lesson mode, which means that I can invite my students into the class and work through the content with them. So they've got, the activities you've asked them to do, whether it's a worksheet or a quick quiz, or what have you. But I'm going to go back to the course, because what I want to do is just go back to the beginning and show you the prerequisite test there. So let's just go back to the beginning, and let's have a look at this diagnostic pre-test. So I click on this to open, and the idea with this is not that you're assessing your students, you're really checking to make sure they have the skills that they need. So we can see that there's been a result here. We can see that there's a downloadable learning pathway report. We'll look at that in a moment, but let's just resume this so that you can see how this looks. So in this pre-test, we've got 12 questions. They will be different types of questions, not all multiple choice. And there are 2 questions for every skill required. So once the students have completed that, they get their result immediately, and you will also be able to access the learning pathway report that the students get. And the learning pathway report is really assessing whether the student has the skill, the student needs to practice the skill, or the student needs to learn the skill. If they do need to practice or learn, we're recommending these support sheets. So in a situation where you might think, oh, okay, the student has some gaps, what will I give them to do? Here are the suggestions, and I have a support sheet as well open here for you to see. Now, these are available online to students. They don't need to wait for the learning pathway report, but they are suggested there for any gaps that you find. So let's just move down now to the resources tab on the left-hand side. This is where we can find all of the resources, or we can filter them. So you'll see that you've got the pre-test, we've got support sheets, and so on. If I want to filter, I can filter by, so let's go down to the review, for example, and it will show me what I've got for the review. So we do have an online quiz as well. And in fact, you have the diagnostic pre-test at the start. You have a quick quiz, which will be 5 or 6 questions for each of the lessons. And then you have a module review quiz online. But we are also providing downloadables as well. So we do have a class test, which you can, it's designed for the students to write, and you can print that off. Again, if I wanted to, I could use the 3 little dots here to download that, or to copy it to the LMS, or to assign it. The idea being that the students would complete that in writing. So I can check any of the resources here. If I move to the next tab, I will see any work that I've assigned the students. I select my class, and I can see that I have asked the students to complete the pre-test. I can see how many students have completed it and how many haven't, and I can edit it and change the dates and so on if I need to. Then we've got the reports. So there are 3 types of reports. We have an assessment report, we have a report for the curriculum, and a skills report. So I'll select my class, and I can see that I've got some results here. Firstly, I can see that the students have completed the diagnostic pre-test, and then some of those quick quizzes, and so on and so forth. I can compare the results of the pre-test, every student in my class, and if I see that students have really struggled with this question, I can very easily then have a look at that question and talk that through in class. If I want to look at an individual student results, I can do that by clicking on their result. And again, I can click through the questions and see what the question was and how the student's gone, where they've gone wrong. And finally, I will, and just with the other sorts of reports, we've also got the curriculum report. So this is great in terms of benchmarking how you're travelling against the new curriculum. And I can see I've got some results for algebra, so I just keep drilling down to those dot points. This will be color coded to make it a little easier on the eye. So you will have some red and green color coding when we get that completed. And finally, I've got the skills report. So this is going back to that diagnostic again, where we're checking for their skills, and I can check this by skill and see how the students have gone, or I can check by student and check how each student has gone with each of those skills. So that is a very quick run through of the online offering. There's a lot to unpack, but I'll stop sharing and we'll move back to our presentation. Okay, so just to recap what's available for Back to School 2026, we will have the pre-tests, we will have our quick quizzes, we will have our module review quizzes all online. We will have our class tests as well, which are downloadable. We'll have the support sheets, worksheets, investigations, and lesson plans for teaching advice. And then with Year 12, when we launch Year 12, for Year 11 and 12, we will introduce test banks, so that will enable you to create your own tests online. So select the questions that you want. We are introducing the inter-year links, which means that if you do need to drop down to stage 4 or stage 5, you'll be able to do so. So if you need to revise or you've got particularly weak students, you'll be able to do that. We'll introduce some practice examples for the live lessons, and we'll also launch our in-platform AI student tutor Finch. And there's a little bit more on our Finch tool. So those responses will all be predetermined. They'll be within platform. It's not going to take the students to an external AI, platform. But it does certainly help students and obviously prepare them for life after school as well using AI. Our offer will be that when your students get to year 12 and they purchase, or you purchase a year 12, whether it's a print book with digital access or digital access only, we're including year 11. So that means that in year 12, your students will have access to the year 11 content, which, they need. So let's have a talk about some of the purchasing options. So you can be print and digital or digital only. Our print price is $89.95 for a print with the essential. So the digital offering will be, there'll be 2 options for you, essential or premium. The premium is an additional $10, and that includes the live lesson mode, the Finch AI tutor, and the curriculum reporting. And I will also say that if you're a school where you would like a digital school license and the school is the purchaser of that license for your whole cohort, please talk to us, because we do have other purchasing options available. So yeah, school license is something that we'd be very happy to talk to you about. So I'll put our details up at the end. So timing wise, year 11 digital, well, we've got a sample now, and by the end of this term, in fact, you'll be able to evaluate all of the core content in our sample. And then we'll print the actual textbook for year 11 in October. And then everything will, all of the resources and the teacher support, everything will go live in December. And then for year 12, it's already started. I believe Daniel and Alex, our publisher, are already working on year 12. And so by term 2 next year, we'll have some digital samples, and then publishing in term 3, ready for term 4. You will have access via this webinar to some resources. So you'll have an example of a lesson plan. You'll have a link to a digital sample, and the syllabus guides that Daniel talked through, as well as some other samples to look through. And with that, I'd like to say thank you very much again for attending this afternoon, and please let us know if you have any questions. And those are the details for myself, Callie James and Sandy McLaughlin. So please reach out to either one of us if you would like to ask questions or to get started with a digital trial or arrange an in-faculty demonstration or anything else.
It doesn't look like we have any questions at the moment, so we might wrap it up there. Thank you everyone for attending, and we'll send out a copy of the recording and the slides soon. And yeah, I hope you all have a great night.
Thank you.